Climate Fresk is based on scientific information gathered by the IPCC. And so the game is basically based in the science behind climate change. However, the game plots out a cause-effect relationship. And I hope from this we are able to contextualize it, and as climate activists, for us to know how exactly we can approach certain conversations, say maybe with policymakers, how we can approach certain conversations when it comes to maybe just raising awareness when we come to the communities.
Coming from an indigenous background in Western Uganda, where we necessarily depend on weather patterns for the produce or for the output we produce, and then looking at how changing everything is becoming and how difficult individuals are planning on striving due to climate change, it became very hard for these individuals to thrive. That inspired me to join the climate space to advocate for things, for example, where indigenous communities should be represented, but to make sure that young people are also represented. Because necessarily when you look at climate change, it does not affect the old people, but it affects the future generation and the young people. So this inspired me to necessarily move on and make sure that young people find a safer space, but even the generations to come. Because if we do not fight climate change right now, then the effects are going to become irreversible.
Growing up in a country that is usually called third world is one of the biggest inspirations to ensure that we can live a sustainable life, considering the fact that we live amongst people who have little to no knowledge about the environment and how we can conserve and preserve it for the next generation. So that kind of retrospect or that kind of background has encouraged me, for example, or has also inspired me to find a way and give back to community in the long run.
For me, the inspiration to do climate change and look at climate justice comes from the fact that we only have one world, and it's the same world that we have to use over and over. It's the same world for our children, for our grandchildren, and the generations to come. So as our population grows to over 8 billion, I believe that there's a need for literacy. There's a need for people to know their contribution to where this earth will end or the changes that are happening in the world. So that's what pushes me, and that's what drives me to do all this.